Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, written and directed by James Gunn, starring Chris Pratt, Zoe Saldana, Dave Bautista, Michael Rooker, Karen Gillan, Pom Klementif, Sylvester Stallone, Kurt Russell, Elizabeth Debicki, and as voices Vin Diesel and Bradley Cooper. Another installment in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, a sequel to the runaway hit about a group of misfits coming together to save the galaxy. We catch up with the crew a few weeks after the end of the first part, and we see them on a mission that ends up with them being on the run again. They are saved by a mysterious man that identifies himself as Ego and proclaims himself to actually be Peter Quill's estranged father. The crew then splits, with Quill, Gamora, and Drax going away to Ego's planet to learn more, and Rocket and Groot and Nebula staying behind to repair the ship. Meanwhile, we also catch up with Yondu, Quill's former captain, who, as we learn, is pretty much a pariah in the society of Ravagers because of his history of slave trading. He ends up taking a contract to find the Guardians and bring them in for the thing that they did at the beginning of the film. That's as much as I'm going to say about the plot, and it may seem like there's a lot of different things going on in the film, but actually comparing it directly to the previous one, the balance between story and characters is shifted much more towards the characters. There are whole stretches of film where nothing of substance happens except characters having conversations. In that way, it obviously serves as this middle part of the story of Guardians, as the third volume is planned to be released as well in the future, and give them, some character development. So we get a bunch of character pairings: Quill and Ego, Drax and Mantis, Gamora and Nebula, Rocket and Yondu, that help propel these characters and relationships forward. And as much as it slows the film down at times, I think it works, mainly because the characters themselves are written and acted out so well. I mean, they're all very lovable, and even despite the sometimes toilet level humor in this part of the film, they're relatable. That's the most important part. Despite being aliens and superheroes that have qualities that normal people have, they have qualities that normal people have, and that makes it easy for the audience to get into the emotional layers of the film. Also, new additions, for example, Mantis. I mean, she just fits the crew really well. She brings something that wasn't there before, while also being a character of its own. The main storyline itself is also quite good, so are the visual effects, so is the soundtrack. There really is not much to say or criticize, except that it's the high blockbuster quality that Marvel has gotten us used to. The movie is no exception to the formula. As a final point, I would answer the question, which is the better film then, the original or the sequel? I loved both, and comparing them now, I would put it like this. The original Guardians is the better film overall. It's really tight, paced almost impeccably, and balances the three main components, story, characters, and humor, almost perfectly. This film as a whole is not as neatly constructed, it's more uneven because of its structure, but it does have higher heights. When it has its moments, it's really, really amazing. The climax conversation between Peter and Ego, Come a Little Bit Closer sequence, the opening credits with Mr. Blue Sky playing, and of course the ending, which is probably my favorite ending to a Marvel film, including even Infinity War. So the second part of Guardians is slightly different than the first, as it goes for different things, but in my book, it's equally as good.